Goodness, it's happening. It's episode 26 of the Practical AI Show. Olga, tell them what we've got for them.
Well, welcome everyone. Like Chris said, episode 26, Practical AI, the place where we are bringing you the news from this past week. AI is moving at warp speed, and we are here, reviewed over 40 sources this past week, and bring you what's the hottest and what's the greatest and what's just the hype. So we will be talking about all of that so you can take all of that information, have no FOMO, know what's BS, what's not BS, and actually go and build something for yourself. So on that note, we've got some news we're going to cover, and then we'll talk about Perplexity today and their success story and their playbook that you guys can use in whatever it is that you're building. And we also are going to be talking about Clawdbot, because who doesn't or who isn't talking about it this week? And then we'll talk about funding.
So Olga, you grew up in the USSR. So I don't know if you had the same sort of impression that I did, but I grew up in the 80s in America. And I remember, we were reaching back into time and reaching forward into the future big time back then. So we were talking about dinosaurs, all the kids were into dinosaurs, but then NASA is sending space shuttles up. And every space shuttle launch is a big deal. Everybody stops and gathers around TVs and watches that. And you got all this sci-fi stuff on TV and in movies that's predicting the future and sort of painting this picture.
Well,
and so
we didn't have that. So there you go.
Like the future was inevitable. Yeah. And then computers are taking off in the 80s, and people are doing things like we're playing with electronics in new ways, and we switched from an analog to a digital world. It was all happening. It was amazing. The future was coming so fast, and it was inevitable. It felt inevitable. And then, in 2000, it stopped. With 9/11, the future just stopped. It's so weird, and it was put on hold. But now, apparently, the future was scheduled for later delivery. Amazon sent out an email, and now the future is being delivered in January of 2026. All at once, we get the whole thing right now, and that's what we're going to talk about today. The future is happening right now.
Yes, and I honestly, if we didn't do this podcast, I would have major FOMO, because I would be and especially on X. If you log in on X, it's a completely different. It's like a New York Times Square. It's buzzing, and there's so much happening, and you're like, oh my God, what's going on? And then you go to LinkedIn, and it's just quiet, village vibe, whatever. Anyway, so we have so much to cover today. We're going to start with news. We're going to do our best to do it in 10 minutes, Chris. All right?
We can do it. I just won't say anything. I figured out that's probably the answer.
No, you have to say things.
All right. Let's go.
Hey, guys. All right, let's dive in the news. So this week, can you say this?
Yep. Looking good.
All right. So the Gallup released their workforce report. So apparently 50% half of US workers have never used AI, which, what I just said, there's people in San Francisco that are optimizing every single thing of their life. And then there's people somewhere in rural Arkansas who've never heard of anything that's going on. So the divide is becoming more and more substantial, and the Gallup survey kind of made it very clear. So that's the workforce news. The participation gap is getting bigger every week. Amazon quietly axed 30,000 corporate roles. Roles were eliminated as AI systems like manual corporate tasks redundant. Pinterest followed suit, slashed 15% of staff to reinvest specifically in AI-centric infrastructure roles. They're literally saying that we are cutting jobs because we need to make more funding available for AI.
All these tech companies overhire. They have too many engineers, too many designers. Time to shed the fat.
That's very true. And the last piece of news on the workspace part is the training adoption barrier. And we've talked about this before, but it's becoming more and more obvious that the lack of specific workflow training is the primary reason AI adoption stalls globally. People will be the biggest bottleneck, and that's been in the news this week. So moving on to Tesla. Everybody's kind of talking about that.
I'll talk during this segment.
So Elon announced that they're ending Model S and Model X production. So they're going from being sexy, because that's what the letters of all the models are stating, or whatever, starting with. They're just keeping Model E or Model 3 and Model Y. They are taking the Model S and X out of production, and they're focusing on building 1 million Optimus robots in 2026.
Let's pump the brakes here. Hold up. So Tesla had 4 models of cars.
Yes.
They are killing the S and the X, which are their lowest selling. Model Y.
They have Cybertruck, so 5.
Model Y is the highest selling car in the world. #1 selling car in the world. Model 3 has really strong numbers. But the S and the X are kind of luxury options. They're killing those. Their factories in Fremont, California. They are shifting the entire factory over to produce the Optimus robot. And their goal is to have 1 million units in production per year at that facility. Now, we got to, like, what is driving this? That means Elon thinks that more robots are going to be sold than the Model S and X combined.
Well, hey, remember we
soon.
talked about the China last episode, that they've got how many million of robots do they have right now in workspace?
2.2 million or something.
Right. So Elon was like, I think this is the only factory that's actually building robots. Is it not?
There's a company called Boston Dynamics, and I don't know if there's any like large facility production going on with them. I did see something about some factory somewhere in the mid-eastern states in the US, but I'm not sure. I don't think we're talking about numbers like this.
Yeah. Well,
this is huge.
Yeah. Elon is making, they're retiring Model S and Model X.
So here's something to think about. You know those bird scooters?
Yeah.
That, like, overnight just showed up in every city that matters.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you got these freaking bird scooters everywhere. That's how the robots are going to be. Like, I didn't ask for like city to be littered with bird scooters, but that's what we got, and they're kind of useless. But we're not asking for our cities to be littered with robots either, but they're going to be everywhere soon. Like, you'll blink and there'll be robots everywhere.
Buckle up, Buttercup. It's happening. All right. Moving on away from the workspace news to tool updates. So this week, the company called Runway, they had this fun test, which is in my X profile, by the way. And they asked people to pick between very similar videos. One was AI made, one was people made, human made. And 90% of people can no longer distinguish AI generated video from real footage. So I took it myself. I got 9 out of 20, right? And it was really hard. It was so hard. And so I am actually like, this is happening. The AI videos are becoming more and more real, which is, I did it for myself, and I'm encouraging you guys. If you're on my profile, go check it out. Go take it. I
just linked to that post with the video.
You got what, 15?
I got 15 out of 20 right, and I should have been 16. I made one stupid error. It's kind of the thing that I did when I took the SAT.
We need to make our kids take that and see if the kids are better.
I'm pretty good at identifying what's AI. This was way more challenging than any other test I'd taken along these lines, and it is not hard to imagine. There's certain genres of video that are going to be basically impossible to tell.
Yeah. Well,
certain types of subjects. So they even kind of talk about it in the notes after you take the test. They're like, on these subjects, humans did better. On these subjects, humans did worse. And the singularity there is coming. You're not going to be able to tell a difference.
Yeah.
Very soon, before the end of this year, I think.
I mean, it was unreal. I was anyway. And the other part of the kind of the video update this week was YouTube CEO made a public post, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But basically, they purged AI slop. The platform is now banning low-effort AI spam to prioritize high-value human creativity. We're going to talk about the numbers of how many accounts they took down that were basically fake. And that came after another company that we'll talk about that back in November, they did this expose on YouTube and how much of AI slop has been spreading there. And they took some outside party calling YouTube out for them to finally do something about it. So we'll talk about for 3 or 5 minutes about it, because I think that's important, especially with the fact that the videos are becoming more and more indistinguishable from, you know, who made them or whatever.
It's crazy.
Obviously, the Claude's MCP app system, Anthropic launched direct integrations for Asana, Figma, Slack, and Canva inside Claude. I actually connected Canva yesterday inside my Claude. And it worked okay. It still has a lot of hiccups. I haven't connected my Slack yet, but I honestly think Claude is kind of what OpenAI wants to be so badly, but they just can't. They launched that app. You remember how OpenAI launched their app store or whatever, like months ago, but we haven't really heard much about it. Well, Claude is actually integrating everything because they want you to stay in the Claude. So I think we're going to see more and more of that. So if you go to connectors in Claude, you can connect them and work inside the app, and then it just kind of calls back and forth.
Well, remember, they did some hiring recently to ramp up their product. Delivery.
No, I mean, they want you to stay in the app. So I mean, in their stuff. So that was an interesting thing.
I'm here for whatever Claude does. I
know. Another Claude news this week. They have Excel expansion. So now you can work, you know, it's so interesting. When I ask Gemini to create me a sheet, it wouldn't. But when I ask Claude to do the same thing, it does. So I think it's fascinating that Claude is way ahead of all the other AIs, actually making me documents that I can use, not just telling me go and use something.
So remember, we were messing around on date night and we looked at Polymarket.
Yeah.
Like just seeing like what tech items to bet on they had on Polymarket. And like one of the top ones was like, what's going to be the #1 AI by the end of January 2026? And Google was like at 99%.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at stuff like this. And it's like, this is an arbitrary judgment. Which one's the best?
I mean, Claude is doing...
Like, that's a joke. It's definitely Claude. Like, come on.
Well, Claude is doing all kinds of interesting things.
It's
another big news this week that we will be doing a deep dive on is Moltbot, the first viral agent. Autonomous agents are now buying cars and making calls via Telegram. It was a Clawdbot, but Claude wasn't very happy about it.
So Casey's saying they changed it again. It's OpenClaw now. Is this true? Casey, can you confirm?
Ooh, maybe Casey's way ahead.
I like OpenClaw better. I think Moltbot is horrible.
I don't know. I mean, it's only 24 days old. So, you know, like I'm sure that's going to have some.
This is one of the wildest arcs in internet history with this particular tool.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. You heard it here first.
There we go.
Casey brought us the news. I literally just finished working on this last night at 11 p.m. So I guess it's already irrelevant. So now it's Moltbot.
That's so on brand.
This is the warp speed of how fast things moving. Thanks, Casey, for bringing this up. And the last piece of news: Gemini's personal data mode. Google AI now uses 10 years of personal Gmail and photo history to know you better. I tried it, wasn't super impressed, but you know, that's out there. And Google
why not? They're the #1 AI.
Google has an interesting thing because they've got all this history in us and then Gmail and all of that stuff, and there's so much information, but they're trying to keep up with kind of how do they stay relevant with all of this. Anyway, all right. Well, any comment on the news? What do you think?
The future happening so fast. It's crazy.
I'm actually going to add this interesting thing to our show where and at the end, we'll talk about like, what's the tool of the day? I think it's obviously going to be Moltbot or whatever it's called now, OpenClaw. So we are going to be like talking like, okay, the tool of the week was this. And then we're going to keep track of like, how do they stack up, and will we even hear about it 2 months from
now? Which
ones
are relevant after 3 months? After
remember, like Atlas, the OpenAI's browser, that everybody's like, Perplexity's cooked. That was what, 2 months ago.
I said this.
Where is Atlas now?
Yeah, never heard of it.
We don't know. So we're gonna keep up which tools are hype and which ones are not. So we're gonna start doing it this week. What was surprising to you out of all the news today?
Oh, the Tesla news. Are you kidding me? Shutting down the Fremont facility, retooling to produce robots with a goal of having 1 million by the end of this year.
Sometimes I think Elon acts like he's still a startup. Oh, shutting it down. We're done.
If it wasn't for OpenClaw, that would have been the news.
That's true. That's true. That's true. All right. Shall we do a deep dive on YouTube right quick?
Yep. Yeah. We'll dive more into the story about YouTube nuking a huge, not that many creators, but these creators were eating up a huge chunk of views on the platform because of prolific production.
Yeah. So YouTube, I was talking about it this morning. So YouTube is like playing this good cop, bad cop, or a good parent, bad parent. Like, what is it? In parenting, good cop, bad cop.
Yep.
So on the one side, they're like, yay, AI. We want to use AI for, new creative frontier. And where, there's all these tools that they're coming up. So, this is all great. But at the same time, they're also acting as a bad cop. And they just shut down 16 massive AI channels. It's called the Great Purge. So they nuked it in 1 week. 35 million subscribers and 4.7 billion views are gone. So, I mean, that's kind of nuts, I think. So what were those accounts? Okay, why is it not doing anything? Well, great.
I've got it. I'll pick it up. It's teamwork. Hold on. We got to go back to the studio.
What happened? Where did it go? All right. Now, can you see this now?
You got it. Oh, you did it. Way to go. All right. 2.
Okay. All right. So they, the YouTube isn't banning AI. They're banning Slop. So there's all this like weird accounts that this company called the research company Capwind. Do you know what that is? Have you heard of them?
Capwind, Kapwind. They've been doing all these reports about the AI,
right,
or whatever.
So they revealed the scale of the garbage. It was back in November. They created a new account, and then they just kind of started tracking how much. So like out of 500 random shorts, 21% were pure AI slop. They identified 278 channels as pumping noise, and then they looked at it deeper. There were 63 billion views. And those views were generating 117 million in annual revenue. That's just in ads or whatever, clicks there, whatever they're called. And then, so all of that wasn't run by humans. I mean, there's got to be humans involved somewhere. Somebody's collecting money, but the accounts themselves were complete garbage.
Well, did they really explain why that matters? If it's generating views, and there's audience watching, what are the advertisers?
So basically, like so they're optimizing for metrics. It was nonsense content, hacking retention, not entertaining humans, like Wikipedia articles, stolen anime clips. There were some Dragon Ball, Bible quizzes. So I'm not sure why anybody was hurt by that. But at the same time, like you always complained how YouTube doesn't honor the live creators that are actually creating content, and instead it's all about optimizing for clicks. So
optimizing for publishing. They want you to be cranking out videos, shorts, right, and videos. And so this revealed something that is a little disturbing, but like very inevitable.
Wow.
And that is because we can generate content so quickly with AI, we can now test the minutia of attention grabbing tactics at a scale that has never even been close to possible. And so we've seen this with, this is sort of an adjacent thing, but there was a report about Instagram account that's like an AI generated girl, putting her in different poses and figuring out what works. And this is going to be happening at scale. This is basically what was happening on YouTube, but we are going to be hacked on an attention basis in ways you can't even imagine for the next 3 to 5 years. I assume that we will kind of know every little trigger that exists within the next few years for attention. And I'm not really sure what that means for like how things are going to change, or what that means for, our content feeds and all that. It's a little bit, kind of daunting to think about right now. But
well, some of those videos they even called brain rot, which is what we call for our kids. Like, when it's like brain rot, it's like literally not really that.
Yeah, but you're sitting there watching it. Like, what does that mean?
Right, exactly. And actually, when I looked at the actual accounts, I think there was only one from the US. The rest of them from Korea, from Spain. So like they were from like around the world. So
not the usual suspects. Wink, wink. But okay.
Anyway, so what do you do with this information? Like, why should you care? So I guess YouTube is sort of buttoning up on their AI slop. And so all those content creators that are maybe becoming a little bit too, I don't know, lax about the content because like, oh, well, I can get away with, all kinds of stuff. So kind of be careful, because it looks like, YouTube starting the lead on making sure that the content is actually, valuable. And so if you're still using AI as a helper, that's great. But if you're using AI as a stamper of that content, then that's probably kind of you in a danger zone. I don't think anybody who's watching the show is in that zone, but you heard it here first. And then that's a good question to kind of keep asking. And I like that YouTube is paying attention. And finally, 2 months later, they did something about it. It took some independent researcher to tell them there's a problem. That's funny. Haha.
Well, that's this is going to be happening everywhere. I mean, Instagram is absolutely chock full of AI gen content. I saw some people complaining about Facebook as well, saying that, people are going to be really susceptible to the messaging there. I haven't seen that personally, but I also don't really use Facebook. But this is happening everywhere all at once. Once again, the future already here.
Exactly.
It's like a tidal wave.
All right. Well, let's move on. Should we do the demo and then Perplexity, or do Perplexity and then demo?
Let's do Perplexity, then demo.
Okay. So this week we are covering our next AI company, where we're not just covering them for fun, even though it's a lot of fun to cover them. But why do I care about paying attention to all this AI companies that are actually successful and they are figuring out things as you're flying warp speed? I think it's important for us to learn from them, learn from their mistakes, and learn from their successes. So if you are a builder, a creator, any AI entrepreneur, kind of watching the space, I want you to take the stories and actually take something away from each story that we do every week. They are showing us, if you're wrapping your product around AI, what's working, what's not working. They're showing us what's the user acquisition like, what works and what doesn't work. So that's why it's fun to cover AI economics, but it's more personal for me. I want to learn from them because I'm building something. I know Chris and I building, Page Motor and all of that. And I want us to learn from that. So all of that said, today's company is Perplexity. It's a big one. And I've heard about them, but this was the first week I actually used them. And I was very pleasantly surprised. I kind of try to do, when I ask research-based questions, I use Gemini, Grok, and now Perplexity. And they are very much in the same realm in terms of the citable content that is valuable. So I don't know if anybody used Perplexity. If you have, let me know what you think. I'm very curious. Have you used them, Chris?
Yes, that was kind of the first AI that I interfaced with a lot to answer questions. I was all Perplexity in the beginning, and then I shifted over to Grok. And, I like Grok's responsiveness better than Perplexity's and the UIs. I don't know, it just fits my workflow better. So that's part of the reason why when Atlas came out, I was like, oh, Perplexity's cooked, because you really don't need them for the search. And now they don't have their, Comet is no longer unique. So they don't really have a UVP. And, but after looking at this deep dive, they got a little bit. They definitely have something on Google. Now, I think that Grok, for example, can replicate what they have, but I also don't think the way Grok is set up, it's not as publicly accessible. It's not viewed as a search engine by users in the way that Perplexity already is. So they do have a bit of a moat, more than I expected. We'll dive into that now.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's kind of set it up. So today's, how to build a $20 billion search engine by refusing to build a search engine. This is an authorized story of Perplexity. So it started with 4 AI researchers back in 2022, about August. And what they realized is that, they were sick and tired. I think one of them was from OpenAI. They were just really tired of, they realized that people don't want links, right? When you search with AI, you want, answers. So the internet was broken. So there's liars and link farms, there's sponsored ads, there's, this link, there's that link, there's link broken. I mean, I don't have to tell you about how amazing Google is not when you try to search something. And then the other option, back in 2022 in August, was the hallucinator, early AI, trust me, bro, where it will just tell you anything you want to hear without any kind of proof of any way. So the insight that Aravind Srinivas, I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correct, he realized that the market did not need a better search engine.
Srinivas, yeah.
It needed a truth engine, right? And so what happened is they killed the blue link with the answer engine. So that's kind of what they did. So they appealed to researchers, lawyers, students, who couldn't be wrong in their research, right? You don't want the AI to be like, oh yeah, this is true, whatever, sure. And so it's not a search engine, it's not a chatbot, it's direct answer plus verifiable proof, and that equals trust. What I don't like about Google, and I don't even search in Google anymore, is that I don't want to read through all the links. I want to know what the actual answer is, and then I want to go and look what the citations are. And this is exactly what they have. So this is what it looks like when you are working in Perplexity. It gives you links. Every time it's citing something, it gives you the citations. And now this has become even more important because, as I'm going to demo later with the GEO stuff, this is really feeding into Perplexity. So since more and more people are using Perplexity, you want to have your stuff optimized so Perplexity can come and grab it. So they had basically, like, what they did is they created zero friction, zero ads. And I'm like, how do you create a search engine or answer engine with no ads? And they have all 100% organic kind of traffic that comes in there. So they removed every barrier. There's no credit card, no sign-up wall. You can go and use it for free. And their users did the marketing. So it's word of mouth in a way. Screenshots became social currency. And then the Chrome extension embedded Perplexity into the browser workflow. They launched on December 7, 2022 with no login, which is pretty impressive, right? And they had 2 million users in 3 months with $0 spent. What do you think about that so far?
Well, I mean, I remember that initial viral uptick in people using Perplexity. It's like people became aware of AI a few months before, and then everyone sort of shifted to, hey, if you're going to do this, use Perplexity. The word of mouth noise at the time was that it was more trustable than Google, and easier to use than Google, and was better for searching for data and information than like ChatGPT, for example.
Well, it's interesting. As I was preparing for the show, yesterday, I realized I haven't used ChatGPT for any show prep in a long time. So like I have my my AIs open, and with Claude, whenever I'm doing anything, I don't really ask Claude any any answers to like the most recent things that happened. I always ask Grok, Gemini, and now Perplexity, and then I go and verify, make sure that everything is, checking out and there's no lying going on, because I don't want to bring information here that's not true. And I think that's going to be interesting to watch how OpenAI is going to, address like who's using their Atlas. Like, I don't even know what Atlas is connected to and what Atlas really kind of hooks as the citation thing for them. But it's an interesting way. And so we're going to look underneath the hood and see what's actually really happening there in Perplexity's world. So in the beginning, they were burning through cash, which is, I guess, every AI company's playbook, right?
Well,
so
if you're a rapper, which they were, so they were using, so if you type a query into Perplexity, it's not like they had their own model. They were using ChatGPT and maybe Gemini. That was their early combination. And it was costing them a bunch because they're subsidizing. You could go there and do queries for free. So that was costing them. So let's break it down.
Right. So in 2024 early, they had 34 million in revenue, which we will talk about how they make money because they don't have ads. Okay. So like, where is the money coming from? And their inference costs were 57 million. So 168% of revenue was paid to OpenAI Anthropic APIs, and cost of acquisition, 33 million spent supporting free users alone. So that's a major fire of dollars just like burning, every month.
A subtext there, though, is if you have, like, they had 2 million users a month at the time, something like that.
Well,
if
right.
you go to Silicon Valley and tell them that, you'll get plenty of funding to make sure you can at least try to get enough runway to get through that period.
Well,
because that much users is
and they were early, right? So if they started December 2022, so they had 2023, they probably raised the money, but the crisis of success nearly killed them. They were providing smart answers using GPT-5 pretty much there wasn't GPT-5 then, but like they were using like the latest models for every query, and it was financial suicide. They were bleeding money with every search, and they had to get smarter fast. All right, so that's what they had to figure out. So what did they do? They built the routing layer, and that's how they stopped bleeding money. The fix was they didn't use a PhD to answer a third-grade math question. They built Sonar to handle 80% of queries at 1/10 of the cost. They own the routing, and they just ran the intelligence. So the user gets the question, the router, their brain, decides if it's easy or hard query. If it's easy, it uses Sonar that's running on Llama. Here we go.
First time that's really come up in the practice.
Llama.
Very interesting.
Here.
I think Perplexity's probably been the one floating Llama this whole time.
Probably. It's fast and cheap. And then the hard queries, they go through OpenAI and Claude, and it's low and expensive. So their margins flip from 30% to 75%. So if you're watching this, I mean, obviously they built this, but this is an interesting thing. Like they had to start owning their infrastructure, right? Like in terms of like, how are they actually managing operationally?
Well, was it FreePick that kind of had a router, but they let you choose?
Right. And then by default, they kind of make it more whatever the
router is genius, and that is understated here. That's really the tech that is Perplexity that gives it value. That is huge.
Right.
If you're going to have a wrapper and you're going to have variable costs, you need a smart way, almost like an auction system, I imagine is how it works, to figure out like the lowest bidder for a certain task.
So how do they make money? So they have the freemium trap, right? The users get 5 pro searches a day. It's enough to get addicted, but not enough to work professionally. So for somebody like me, who is not, I don't use Perplexity for work or anything like that, I'm fine with free. But if you are, like those researchers or lawyers or whatever, students, and you need this, then you're obviously going to pay up, whatever it is. So researchers saving 2 hours of synthesis time, and they're happy to pay $20 a month. And their efficiency is pretty impressive, 2 million per employee. They don't hire sales armies, they hire engineers. So this is the split between Google and Perplexity right there per employee.
Yeah, 4x. So I love what Perplexity does, because this is the perfect segue. We're not moving into that yet, but we will. But it's the perfect segue into generative engine optimization, GEO, because Perplexity's results are based around citation with discoverability. It makes a statement. It's not a hallucination. It's based on some source, and they let you go see the source. What that creates, if you like search for a topic and you've got like a thing with 20 citations and 20 little entries of text, that creates what's called a knowledge graph.
Mm-hmm.
And a knowledge graph is how Google and search engines were originally designed. Like this was the intent. That's how they would work. Turns out it's really difficult to do. Compute costs are high, and you don't really have enough ways to go get everything. The AIs made it possible to go get everything and assemble a real knowledge graph. So instead of doing that, they used some complex linear algebra, and it was all based on links back in the day. So if you wanted to have something that ranked on the search engines in 2008, you needed a lot of inbound links to your pages, preferably from higher value sources.
Okay.
How do they determine what sources are high value? It's just like when we go onto social media. If you're on X, for example, and you see somebody who's following 2,500 people, but they only have 130 followers, that ratio is really skewed. They're a follower. They're not a leadership node. They're not an authoritative node. But if you go to somebody who's only following 100 people, but they have 72,000 followers, that person is an authoritative node.
Okay.
This is exactly what the old SEO playbook was. You wanted your site to have a bunch of links into it and not that many links out.
Oh,
Google
okay.
goes really authoritative. The problem with that is it doesn't really compile a good knowledge graph, because all these nodes that have a bunch of links coming to them, they don't necessarily have a bunch of links going out to connect. It's that crosstalk that you need to create a good knowledge graph, which is what Perplexity is now doing. So search engines and search in general has been massively inhibited by the fact that if we created a knowledge graph, well, then we didn't look authoritative, so we wouldn't rank. So nobody did it. So the way Google was set up actually kind of killed it and made it so that you couldn't have the knowledge graph that's now possible, that Perplexity is exploiting. And we're going to go into this more with our GEO example later, but there's a really fascinating point here about compiling a knowledge graph and how that works in the age of AI, and it worked against you in the age of SEO. This is a big shift.
I feel like SEO for me as a business owner was always this like black box. And I remember like back in like 2009, I think we talked about this. I paid what was like $4,000 or $5,000 every month to this SEO company, and I had no idea. They were like, "Oh, it's gonna take us 6 months," and like it was just like I couldn't understand. I couldn't see inside of it. With GEO, I'm actually excited because I even installed Google Analytics, yesterday, because I want to see how many people are coming with from the AI engines now that I'm doing GEO on our site. So
SEO was great because what you could do is collect $5,000 a month. You could go on Reddit and do 2 posts in the morning, and then you could go play golf.
And now it's over.
That's how it worked. I don't know if you knew that back then.
Listen, now I get it. So obviously the question is Google and Perplexity, right? Like, I mean, Perplexity right now is like at 700 million searches a month. Google is at 400 billion searches a month. So obviously Google is way, way, way ahead when it comes to search for now. But Google has something that Perplexity doesn't have that limits it. It has the $200 billion handcuffs. You love the word handcuffs. It's an ad revenue. So Google search revenue is $200 billion annually, $200 billion annually, and ad dependents are, it's 57% of their total revenue. That's the cash.
They can't really pivot off of that.
No, and so they have the innovator dilemma. Google's empires build on clicks. Perplexity's model, direct answers, they kill clicks. It's like the opposite. So the trap is if Google gives direct answers that destroy their own ad inventory, they cannot copy Perplexity without bleeding billions. And so Google launched AI overviews 18 months late and only shows them on 15% of searches to protect ads. So ads is their master, not the user. And I like that Perplexity is actually building their model around the user experience and not ads.
You can see this playing out in real time. So if you use Google, obviously SEO people have been whining that Google's doing those AI previews on 15 to 18% of searches. Well, if you've got the answer right there, you don't need to click through.
Yeah.
That sucks for the advertisers. However, on Perplexity, you've got a full citation. You've got a full knowledge graph where you can drill down if you want. You just came for an answer, so you're probably just reading the summaries and not actually clicking through. It's not a necessary part of the equation. The way old Google worked is you would search, you would see the results, then you would have to click through to get the answer. The click was imperative. Now the click is not imperative, and Google is obviously dealing with the crisis. They're only rolling that out on 15 to 18% of their searches, because if they do it everywhere all at once, their thing implodes overnight.
So let's wrap this up real quick because I really want to talk about the numbers as well. But Perplexity in this is kind of a David versus Goliath kind of thing. So it shows you here how many millions of searches they're doing, how fast they're growing, what's their team like, and what they're valued at. So they're serving hundreds of millions of users with a team that could fit in a single conference room. And they're just faster, they're structurally more efficient. So before I go into the lessons that we can learn from this, should we do the revenue split versus costs right quick?
Yeah.
Okay. So I Do you want to put it up? Well, actually, I can do it.
You got it.
Yeah. So here is their revenue model. So you can see it was 0, 0. It looks like a hockey stick. Every company wants this. Obviously, December 2026 is its prediction. That's what they're predicting. We'll see what happens. But this is where they were in September of 2025. They were 200 million ARR, which is pretty impressive in what, 2 years? No.
3 years.
3 years. Pretty good. So they've got 3 different tiers. Pro tier is at $20 a month. They've got about 150,000 subscribers. That's the revenue right there. They have the max tier, which is $200 a month. You can see how many subscribers they have. And and then there's enterprise customer, which is NVIDIA, Zoom, Databricks. I think that's fascinating and interesting.
All their customer numbers are at the end of 2024, so that expanded rapidly through 2025.
There's only so much you can find, because I'm sure they're keeping this very tight to their chest. So that's what it was, and that's what it looks like in terms of how the money actually flows to them. So where is the most of their money coming from as of 2024? That was from their pro tier, right? Looks like.
Yep.
I have a feeling their enterprise grew significantly. Maybe just the customers don't want to be famous. Who knows what the deal is there? So there's product-led growth, which is some of the best growth out there. So you don't have to hire a big sales team to go out there and hit the pavement. So the users convert. I think they pay you $3 for every referral or something like that. So they've got that going on. And the path to 656 million, they're compounding from 200 million. So that's what they're projecting. And that's pretty interesting in terms of revenue. What do you think?
Well, I think they've really kind of nailed down their niche. It's people doing research, anything where research and citation are important. Law. It's
I think it's going to be,
it's not just like academic stuff. It's like law.
With AI hallucination, it's going to be a lot of other stuff.
Medical journals, probably.
Like for my sales research, when I research prospects, I'm going to go to Perplexity now to kind of get the latest and the greatest what's happening in the world. And then their free to paid conversion is between 1% and 2%.
If you want a knowledge graph, you got to go there for now.
This is important to kind of keep in mind, because again, these companies act very differently than SaaS. So it's good to kind of know what the numbers are when it comes to sales and building products. And now let's look at their costs right quick.
So we mentioned it earlier, but the way they're getting people to opt into their paid plans is they give you 5 free pro searches
a day
per day.
Yeah.
And so they get you hooked. If so maybe you're not going to use that. Well, you're not their target user. But somebody who is consistently bumping into that limit is their target user, and they're probably going to convert them to at least the $20 a month tier.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Now you can see the revenue growth with gross margin. You can see what the gross margin was and where it's kind of now in mid 2025, and now where they are at the end, kind of what that's going to compare. The gross margin went from almost nothing to
30% to 70%
to being more healthy. Yes. So you can see what 2024 looked like, mid 2025, and then projected. So you can see how they're improving fast with having their own brain that we talked about, that kind of routes the searches depending on what they need to use. And look what happened to their cost per query, per search. It went from 5 cents to 10 cents to what cent, half a cent, and now it's going even more down. So this is what with Sonar they helped themselves, and now they're going to scale and optimize what they just built to get to that profitability.
Yes, they're 1 to 3 cents, I think, on average. Google is a tenth of that. That's not that much different, really. I mean, it is, but
do you think Google will ever buy them? Do you think Google wants to buy them?
So I was thinking about that before the show. I kind of feel like they have to.
You think so?
But then I also feel like they can't. Because if they do, what are they going to do? Offload all their search or just shut it down?
Well, they're good at buying it, and then the company's just dying out.
Google buys you, you're dead.
I know. Anyway,
Gmail.
So look at their costs. So it's again, if you're building AI product or anything in AI right now, this is very fascinating to watch. What is AI infrastructure? consist of. It was 168%. Obviously, that's when they were bleeding, to 80%, to now they want to get to that healthy 50 to 75%. People, I think, as they're kind of building their optimization, they'll require less and less people because obviously AI is going to be doing most of the work. Sales kind of stayed the same, and subsidizing free tier went from 97 down to 20 to 30%. And then the gross margins becoming more and more healthy.
I don't understand the math here. The math isn't mathing for me. So if your total costs are 115 to 160% of revenue, how is your gross margin 75%?
Where? Which one? Where are you looking?
Well, it's just the bottom there. It says total costs 115 to 160 in green. And then it says gross margin 75% plus. Like what? If your total costs are more than your revenue, you're losing.
I don't know. This is a very 190% total cost. Well, obviously they're probably still not profitable. Maybe that's what it is. Gross margin is isn't that there's always the gross margin is something that is before the people cost.
Yeah, net is after that.
So maybe that has something to do with that, but I can argue with my Claude later about this. You can see it over here too. So fascinating little report, I think. We'll continue to kind of watch what they do, but now I understand what their model is.
Perplexity, not as cooked as people think. And the knowledge graph thing, though, is very instructive for the larger community. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. And so what lessons can we get from this? So as a builder, what is the lesson? New rules of war. You reframe, don't copy. I mean, they literally competed with Google, but they didn't build a better search engine. They built an answer engine. So basically they said, if you have to use the word better in your product description, it's not really you're not gonna like really have a very successful future. You got to have something kind of a little bit
unique
different.
Value.
Exactly. So on the stack, so the routing layer is the secret sauce that makes the economics work.
Do you want to share that graphic? Because we're still.
Oh, I'm not sharing it. I'm sorry. Okay, well there you go. Yes. So on the stack, the routing layer is a secret sauce that makes the economics work. So if you can own your own stack, that's even better. But I don't think anybody starts with owning their own stack, right? Like
we haven't covered anyone who's been out of the gate with that, but it hasn't really been possible because these things have only been available. So I mean, I guess you could do Llama, but now the Chinese models, I think we're going to see more of that in the next couple quarters.
Well, we can learn from this. And then your enemy's strength is also their weakness. So Google's ad monopoly is exactly why they can't stop Perplexity. So, and then I like this, the internet is too important to be left in Google's hands. I like that Google has, David and Goliath story going on. I think they need that. They needed a wake-up call. They were way too confident.
Think about this. Before internet, if you were going to be looking up information that you deemed reliable, it would be full of citations. It would be like an academic style report. It would be chock full of citations. You could go verify sources, things of that nature. This was the expected way things worked. Even basic journalism followed these same principles. Internet kind of had us, is being served to you so quickly, and it was such an efficiency improvement that we kind of threw some of that like fact checking stuff, like source verification, all that. We kind of threw that away. Google exploited our acceptance of this looser qualification for truth or veracity or whatever you want to call it. And that has been the norm for 20 plus years, 25 years. But we will return to a citation-based basis for authority eventually. We have to. That's just the way it has to work. So the way things have been working for the last 25 years, even though we're used to it, is really an aberration from what our expectations have been. So this is bringing us closer to the truth. Google is not going to get away with this manipulated ad-based thing forever. It's just, there's no way it can
I'm just thinking like Perplexity doesn't have to sell. If they're building a profitable machine, then they can ride that into whatever.
They got to be playing with these Chinese models. They got to be, if you have high inference costs and your whole model is inference, you're doing everything you can to try and make this happen more cheaply.
Well, so any other takeaway from this before I move on to the demo?
Nope. It's perfect segue.
Okay, great.
Who's the producer? This is amazing. How did you do this?
I know I heard she's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, and very modest. I am we're episode 26, and I've dialed in the production of the show to where, we analyze over 40 sources, right, every week. And I've got my little engines and projects and skills running all kinds of things to prepare for the show. But what I've realized, I'm doing a terrible job at marketing the show. But obviously, like, you want to build a product first, and then you kind of have to think about marketing. So I've been talking with Claude about kind of what that, how do I do marketing in AI native world? And Claude was talking a lot about GEO, which we discussed that, ad nauseum here. And so I started thinking about, like, what does that actually look like, right? So, I'm going to show you today how I reverse engineered of what I'm talking about. So Claude told me, as I'm talking with it, what is what is a GEO, right? So we all know kind of what that looks like. Can I actually share my first? Because
do yours.
I wanted to.
No, I want to.
I have a flow of things that I wanted to show you guys. So basically, as you know, on our site, we currently have this practical AI, tab, right?
It's the pagemotor.com website.
It's pagemotor.com. And after every episode, we go over there and I put, takeaways and transcript for those people who want to read stuff if you don't have time to listen to us blob over here for an hour and a half. And so it's over there. So I built this skill. So I don't do this manually anymore. So I built a skill in Claude that now I just have, to feed the transcript and then the chapters from the YouTube video. Like, for example, in this case, this is episode number 17. So this is the chapters, right? And then this is, obviously there's a transcript over here. So I built the skill where this is literally 3-minute work, and it outputs it in a way that is beautiful. So what I wanted to show you today is how I reversed engineered and started to make this page that is not GEO-optimized, and I'll tell you why in a second, and turned it into the GEO-optimized page.
All right, let's flip back to the non-GEO-optimized page.
So this is non-GEO-optimized page, all right?
Yeah.
And so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to ask Claude.
Let's roll through it real quick. So the non-GEO-optimized page had a little section about what you could expect to get out of the episode, like a teaser, and then a little blurb to get you to sign up to the email list. And also it said, like, what's your big takeaway for the week? So it's like giving people the value from the episode. And then it's got every section broken down with a little summary of each section and the timestamp from the video. This is real basic stuff that we would have put on every web page in the last 20 years. Like, if we wanted to convey the information from this show, that's pretty good for a human.
Yeah.
But we are going to look at the specific modifications and enhancements that make a page geo or optimized for AIs. And that's what she's going to show you, the skill.
So I'm going to show you with my page, but you can do this with your own content, right? So whatever content you paste, maybe it's an article you wrote or anything on your website already that's really it's a really good piece of content. So think about something that's on your website that you can already use. So this is literally what I did on the scale of 1 to 10, right? This page in terms of being GEO-optimized. So because this page right now is not GEO-optimized.
She's using Opus, by the way.
Yeah, I'm using Opus. I love Opus. So right now it's telling me it's 6.5 out of 10. So it tells me what it is, clear, FAQ style, what you have, specific data points, actionable biggest takeaway. And then it tells me weaknesses. So what does it not have that would help my page to become 8.5 or 9 on a scale of 1 to 10, and then be discovered by Perplexity, by Gemini, by Grok, and all of the other AI engines. So it tells me right here what I need to do to improve it. Okay. Well, I already created a skill for this because I've done this multiple times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this through my skill, because I literally did this, a whatever, a week ago. And once it runs through the skill, it's going to create an output that we can then post on the page and run and see how it's going to rate.
Let's walk through the weaknesses and tips to improve real quick, just so everybody sees like some finer points.
You go. Do you see this?
I'm having trouble reading it. If you could hit Command+.
So weaknesses is there's no structured FAQ schema, Q&A pairs. So tell people why it's important to have the FAQ schema.
So this is a component of what's called structured data. This is an element of technical SEO. And for the remainder of the show, when I say technical SEO, I mean stuff that exists in the code of your web page that you don't see. The purpose of technical SEO data, structured data in this case, is for machines to learn more about your page. What's interesting about structured data is that search engines like Google and others, and now the AIs, have been using it to add enhancements to displays. Like if a link to your site comes up, the FAQ will put like some frequently asked questions underneath your search result. If it's a really strong result, if they really think it's number one, they'll add these inline FAQ questions that are clickable. Also things like breadcrumbs, so you can see like where it is on the site. That's another enhancement. There's other types of visual enhancements that can be added to search results through the use of structured data. There's other examples as well, but that's a good one for now. So it needed the FAQ schema added to the structured data.
So, and this is the skill that I've created already, like that is describing this, taking this podcast transcript and making a GEO-optimize. But I'm showing you the process how I created that, because once you create it once, like going back and forth, help me, make this page more GEO-optimized. It gives you all the feedback, and then this is how this skill was created. So it's very detailed. It asks me like what my input should be, what the structure should look like. It even created the CSS file for us to upload back to PageMotor. So this is my skill. And all I have to do over here now is, make it run through it.
So the skill took the weaknesses and the tips and said, okay, let's do them all.
Right, exactly. Because my first chat was like going back and forth. Okay, make it this way. So I'm just saving time here, so I don't have to do this. Go back and forth, go back and forth, go back and forth. Because once you back and forth it, then you already have, the prompts to create that skill. That's how I create any skill. If I have to do something more than once, I create a skill for this, because then it's just a lot easier and more consistent for it to be, to be more accurate.
So are you enhancing this episode 17 page right now for everybody?
Yes. Yeah. Oh. I wanted to show.
I
wanted to show what this page looks like right now, which it's really pretty for human eyes, but it didn't rate it very high for GEO eyes. And so I just kind of wanted to show you guys what it looks like now. And then so it has no links, right?
So wait, hold on. Here's that page now. So it's got some stuff, but not like a crazy amount.
It doesn't have any links that going out anywhere, right?
Wait,
so
this is episode 23. This is not even the right page.
Right. So I'm sharing my page right now.
Yeah. I'm getting out of here. Boop.
Live demo. So right now, as Claude is running this through the skill, converting this into GEO-optimized pages, you can create this for any page that you have, and they'll just optimize your for GEO. And so as it's running, I'm also logged into the PageMotor's what's the word, admin page. So I'm actually going to show you how easy it is to take this page once Claude is done with its skill. It's going through all my instructions. It's doing it. It's making it pretty. It's going to give me all the links I need to, to post in there. And so
well, if we look at the original page, I just want to point out some things for people. So the original page had a link to the YouTube video, but it's to the whole YouTube video. And it also had a way to sign up to the email list, but that was it. If you think about the knowledge graph that is produced by those links, all the internet could possibly know is that this page with this transcript and all this information is somehow related to the YouTube video page. That's it. When we get this new page, I'll kind of try to illuminate the knowledge graph. You'll see how much more interconnection there is that the AIs will be able to use for citations and whatnot. And it'll kind of blow you away. You'll really be able to see like, oh, I see why this is better.
So now that it's done its work, this is what it looks like, kind of on the, because remember it's optimized for page motor. So this is the, I guess, the HTML
It's pure
copy.
HTML because Claude doesn't know what the page motor CSS is for styling.
Right. So here's what it did. It added GEO elements. So it took my page, it added TLDR summary at the top because AI extracts this first, right? So it needs to grab something right quick. It added 6 FAQs pairs with tags and anchor links. It added definition sections. AI can cite. So I became citable. It added quotable moments. It added the boxes because it knows what it needs to add. It's already doing this for me. And so it tells me how many words there are, rating improvement from 6.5 to 9.
Go through each of those details. So it said it added quotable moments, call out boxes, a full table of contents with anchor links, clickable YouTube timestamps to connect specific bits of information to specific parts of the video. That's huge too, because YouTube, if you've been using it recently, has a feature now that AI breaks down videos by section anyway. It says these are what we think the sections are. We think this is what it's about. This information enhances that knowledge graph. So now we have a much better idea that, oh yeah, this section of this video really is about this topic. So it can, results can link you to exact sections of videos that are relevant. So now we can just publish a whole big thing, a long video, and people can extract the exact information they want.
Yeah.
This is a good knowledge graph.
Yeah. So it also structural improvements about the show boilerplate. It added that. It embedded YouTube. It's not going to show on the page because you told me why. Page Motor doesn't have something yet for the YouTube embedment.
We need a thing.
Anyway, so now I've learned this enough that I know it's going to have a bunch of links. So I'm going to ask it right here, right quick. Show me all external links you are using. And here's why. I need this information to make sure the links are correct, right? So the main video, I get it, the embed, and then the keep learning section, which will be, important. Okay, practical AI, YouTube, Vercel.com, fix your AI. So I'm just kind of double checking that all of these links are working. And then it shows me which links are missing, okay? So this is how smart it is. So I'm going to add it later. I'm not going to deal with this right now, but I would add this because I would want to include as many links as possible. But for the sake of right now, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this code that's already optimized for page motor because of my skill. And now I am going to page motors admin page. I'm going to find this episode 17, right? And I'm going to replace. So do you have that page right now kind of showing on your end?
No, but I can pull it up.
Well, it's going to change in a second. So, and then I'm just going to save it. Save the page.
All right, let's see it. Hold shift, click refresh.
And voila. It has the publish date. Well, this is not correct, so I have to check this. Make sure it's 2025. And then it has TLDR, right? So it kind of describes what so look at this. It has the table of content. It has
that links to parts of the page.
What you'll gain, take away, has the sign up sheet. And here's where it gets really cool. So
it didn't do the style though for the FAQ.
This is well, we got to check this out later.
Well, let's still talk about it though. It's got the frequently asked questions with links to this internal document that specifically says, this is very important for GEO. It says, here's the question, here's the link to the answer. That is, that's an internal knowledge graph within this page that creates certainty that these engines crave. That is what they are looking for. They want a binary yes or no. Here's the question, here's the answer.
The FAQ is really what makes the page more stand out from the regular, like STO, whatever, to now you're telling AI that because when people are searching for these questions, you now are going to be coming up, right? Like this is good because now you're easy to cite and you are easy. So we're building this database of things that AI can cite us on.
Yeah, and this is real handy. Think about it. This is saying, well, here's the questions that this page answers. these are the most relevant queries for the content on this page. That is super, super helpful.
Right. So, and I like how it loads the FAQs way before any other content. So it's kind of gives you, for those of you who are lazy and don't want to watch the whole show, you can just go in here and check out this FAQs and you're happy, you know what's going on in life. It does the key definitions. I like that too. So because right now, like, why not build this, right? As this new AI search engines are gearing up to show the actual like new terms, because there's so much happening there. Quotable moments, that's from us saying something interesting. And then this is also awesome. So not only it gives me, what do you call this boxes?
Call outs.
Not only it's using call outs, just kind of visually very interesting, but it also, if I click this, it's going to take me to our episode timestamp, which I thought was very cool, because then if you want to learn more about it, you can go directly to that piece of information. So, this is what the GEO page looks like. There's final takeaways, keep learning. It has all the links, that we use throughout.
There were some other, if you recall earlier, she said that it highlighted some internal links that were missing that she'd have to go back and add. Those are the things like, so we covered a segment in this episode about Dharmesh Shah's newsletter. It was a specific newsletter that he had sent out. So we want to link to that because that connects the knowledge graph. If somebody asked about his thing, it might bring us up as a resource, within the citation. Or if somebody asked about our thing and it's adjacent to a query that Dharmesh covers, like that link has been made on the internet now. And so these citation, these knowledge, these AI engines can look at the knowledge graph and say, well, these two things are at least have some correlation. There's something there. In the old days of SEO, we probably would not have linked to Dharmesh Shah's newsletter from this page because, again, you want a lot of links into your resources and not a lot of links out.
Yeah.
So that knowledge graph would have been weaker. But in this case, we do want to add that because it enhances the overall knowledge graph, and that's sort of the basis for everything now.
Claude also created CSS file that Chris uploaded to PageMotor to properly display the design elements that I liked in the way that...
We'll look at one that it did right.
Huh?
We'll look at one that it did right.
Well,
I'll show you. Here's one with all of the design elements that Claude did for this type of page. So we've got a section about this show at the top. We've got this frequently asked questions is now like a box. It's a nice box. It's got some responsive treatment, so it looks real good on mobile. You see, it's just a little bit different. It's sort of like a clear presentation. We've got these, I don't even know what to call these. These are sort of like call out boxes, but they are, very, very eye catching. Like you're probably reading this stuff at the top. Quotable moments, that looks about the same. But then the timestamp section with key takeaways from each section, like that looks really good, really eye-catching, great for attention design, where people scan and read what is relevant to them. This is really, really good.
Well, and then, so what you're seeing, like there's some inconsistencies in formatting. So what I'm going to do after the show, I'm going to ask, why is this page looking different than that page? And I'm going to let Claude troubleshoot on what we need to change in the skill, but that's an easy fix for me. So the one last thing that I need to do right here is right quick. I just wanted to show what else Claude says that we have to do is we need to create the meta description for the episode. So here I'll just
let's do that real quick. We'll add it. We'll add it live.
I'm gonna do this. Okay, I'm gonna do this one actually.
Do you remember how to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course. Sweet. Hello. And then so you go over here and you go to meta description, you post it, and now you literally did everything you can possibly do to make your page GEO discovered.
I want to show the structured data stuff that's the technical SEO real quick, just for giggles here. So here's what that looks like. So here's a page that's on my demo site. PageMotor now has this schema data. It's stuff like this that lives in your document head. It is a JSON array of data that these engines use. And so like the page that Olga's been working on here, we would add an FAQ schema to the page that would be based on that data. And what we'll do is we'll add the skill to, or we'll add to the Claude skill and say, okay, here's this. And then we'll be able to paste that in somehow as well. So that will be able to be just another enhancement that actually this is a pretty big time enhancement for pages like this. So that is all coming. The next version of Page Motor is going to have that as well. So it really is going to have everything you need for kicking butt with GEO. I mean, getting down to the granular technical details of what you need.
So here's I've tried to run it and see if it's going to rate me. How is it going to rate now that we've optimized the page?
Oh, nice.
And it's not what is the caching, whatever. It's not registering the page that it's been updated yet over here.
Right.
But it's telling me that once you publish the optimized HTML file, which is just lagging in time, it should jump to 9 out of 10. So let's ask what will
you can see what it thinks of episode 23 because that's already
what will make it a 10. Because this is how I tinker with everything. This is what I need to make it a 10. Does it make sense to you?
Wait, well, I'm adding you to stage. What does it say? The fact schema, yep. Article schema, yep. Video object, yeah. I mean, yeah.
So this is all that needs to be what kind of update the updates to the actual page motor.
The first one's all schema. Let's see. The second one is source citation, so you need to add those links.
Yep.
An author byline, I guess it wants that. That would also appear in the schema data. Last upload. So I'll have the updated stuff in there. That's actually included in the next version. And anchor text optimization. That's sort of, yeah. I mean, that's something we talked about actually with the other one. Like instead of linking Dharmesh Shah, you would link Dharmesh Shah's newsletter, or even Dharmesh Shah's newsletter from November 18th, 2025. That would be even better. That kind of thing. You want specific anchor text, not very generic anchor text.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's rate. So now I know what to work on, right? So like I can improve and constantly tinker and improve as I keep going. So what about this page? This is the my poster child page that I want all my pages to look like. And let's see what it says about that. And then we will
should be about the same.
Oh, it's 9 out of 10.
Yeah, not bad. It just doesn't have that schema data on the technical SEO side.
So we're just gonna have to do that. Anyway, so what can you do with this? All right. So like I said, find some content that you already have on your site, feed it to the page into Claude, ask how it would rate your GEO right now, and then ask what it needs to change to get it to 10 and implement those changes. It literally walked me through. I'm not a technical person at all. It walked me through step by step, and then I just created a skill for that. And now I will be putting all of our transcripts for GEO optimization because I want to be discovered and discoverable by and cited by AI engine, I guess, answer engines or whatever they're called.
Yeah. Well, let's do a sanity check here. So Olga said she wants her content to be citable and discoverable by these answer engines. It's the purpose of the content is to be found in that way and used and to serve as an augmentation layer for somebody who's researching whatever. If this information is relevant to that, she wants it to show up. That's great. Let's say you just publish fiction though, or writing that's supposed to be pleasurable for the reader to read. We don't need to do this. The goal of that page is not to appear in citations. It's to get a laugh out of people or whatever. You're a writer. You're writing for enjoyment. It's a different purpose. For our show, we deliver a lot of information. We want people to be able to use that information for this type of content. This GEO optimization makes sense. So it doesn't make sense for everything, but so what you have, so the way this would work, like let's say you wrote a story and you don't want to geo it. Well, then you just have the story on that web page. But now you do have something like this that you want to be citable. You've got just the content, but now you got this like wrapper layer around the content. You've got questions being asked about the content and links to where the answers are. You've got quick takeaways. You've got links to additional sources. You've added this augmentation layer that the engines need to be able to really dissect what is going on the page. So what's the difference, between old and new? This is the difference. You're adding a wrapper.
Well, yes, and I'll push back on that. I would do this GEO pages for all content on my site. I may not be I would tie like the story or whatever and like have a link. But for every kind of non-GEO optimized content that I just want to flow and read better, I will have like a back-end GEO optimized page that search engines can come and grab. So that way it can be cited. But I also have another page that's connected to that that's more maybe human friendly.
Well, I can just see like, some of these writers I know online, they could be rolling their eyes at this. They're like, man, I just want to publish this
you
thing.
You can have that. I mean, well, that's what I'm saying. You can have that and have the background as a GEO optimized page to be citable even more. So that's what I'm going to do. But for our show, I think this works great for humans as well because it's so nicely organized.
To me, this is like the difference, like content that's actually useful. It's supposed to be somewhat evergreen. It needs this, like clearly it needs this.
Anyway, so go out there and use this. I thought this is an awesome skill to have. Again, for companies like Perplexity and Gemini and Grok, they need this. And if you want to be the frontier, you got to go ahead and start doing that for your content, especially your really well-performing content. Okay, so let's move on to
funding.
Was there anything that surprised you while I'm pulling out the next thing?
I think the amount of information the engines actually want is surprising. The TLDR is surprising. The engines, humans want this too. I ain't reading all that. Well, the engines don't really want to read all that either. They want to get right to the point before they dive in deeper to, they want to know, is this the right place?
Yeah.
You show up somewhere new, you want to know you're in the right place before you go any farther. That is true for machines as well as people. So you got that fact connection. I really love. To me, that's like a really strong indicator of the knowledge graph and the usefulness of the knowledge graph. Like that's huge. Like here's the actual questions this document answers. Here's the answers themselves. Like that's so huge. And then I just think about like the knowledge graph, that all these this interlinking and this connection of text, what that actually creates. It's fascinating. It is such a stronger connection between information than has existed previously. And like I said, the way SEO worked sort of fought against a better knowledge graph overall.
Yeah.
I remember when I was first getting started making web pages, I would do the hardcore knowledge graph thing because that makes sense to me. And then I learned that was bad for SEO. So I got away from that. It's just funny how it's come full circle.
Well, we're learning the best practices right here. So let's move on to our last piece of news, the deep dive that we have to talk about it because the whole internet on tech Twitter is talking about it. So if you haven't heard about it, what rock are you hiding under, I guess? But here is the news. And as Case already said, it's already old news as of last night. So Clawdbot, he's the agent everyone is freaking out about. So it was famous as formerly known as Clawdbot until the lawyers called and from the Claude code and told them nicely, please change it to something else. And they changed it to Moltbot, but now it looks like they changed it to OpenClaw. I don't know if it's gonna like fly or not. So its dad is Peter Steinberger, and he's from Australia, from what I understand. So Clawdbot, I'm gonna call it Clawdbot right now. It's just easier. It is 24-day-old open source project that accidentally took over tech Twitter. People are literally rushing to buy Mac Minis just to run this thing. They call it what Siri was supposed to be. But before you install it, let's have a little chat about what exactly is this. So Clawdbot has literally hands to do stuff. So it doesn't live in the browser. Well, not literal hands, but it can do things. It's like it's an agent. So it doesn't live in a browser. It runs locally on your machine. It lives in your WhatsApp, Telegram, and Discord. And it texts like a real person. That is horrifying. And it doesn't just talk, it does. So standard AI gives instructions. It executes actions. It accesses your files, browses the web, and runs code. It doesn't forget things. It builds context, which we know is very important, about you over time, and it remembers business details across every session. So sounds good, right? So far. And but here's the thing that people are using it that's very interesting to me. What people are doing, instead of asking, kind of the old mistake, instead of asking AI to do things that you need, like writing emails, the secret framework that people have been using with Clawdbot, it, instead of giving it tasks, they make it interview them. And they ask questions like, given what you know about me, what can you help me with that I haven't thought to ask? Because it's kind of like the new realm, right? Like, here's this agent, and maybe, yes, it can do my email, it can call the dealership or whatever. But if I tell it what I do and ask, what can you help me with that I haven't, thought about, it will give me a lot of, unknowns that I could be doing with it. So, for
example, you didn't imagine up front or couldn't imagine.
Right. For example, a YouTube creator asked this, given what you know about me, what can you help me with that I haven't thought to ask? And Clawdbot told him it could monitor his competitors and alert him when their videos pop off. He never would have thought to ask that. Right. So this is an interesting, because again, it's a new thing, like what it can do things for you. So let it interview you, and then it will do things for you. Like it will autonomously do them. You can technically do this with any AI, let it interview you and then see how else it can help you. So that's kind of moving the lens from do this for me to how can you help me?
Right. Well, this is your workflow takeaway for the week. Try to figure out your unknown unknowns, the things you don't know and can't ask, but could be receiving help on.
I'm going to be doing this with Claude for sure, and Gemini, and maybe Perplexity. We'll see. Maybe I will uncover a lot of surprises, and I'm encouraging you guys to do the same thing. I'll report back next week on this. So here's what it can do while humans are asleep. And by the way, this beautiful thing has been made by Notebook LM.
I know, how good is this?
I mean,
you got Clawdbot.
I thought I wanted to have something fun, and this looked.
This is phenomenal. I don't even know anyone this creative. Clawdbot is sleeping in a hammock with a sleep mask that is rigged up between two servers.
Okay, so here's some examples of how humans have used it already. It's barely 3 weeks old, right? One is Negotiator. He saved $4,200 on a $56,000 car. So Clawdbot emailed 50 dealerships, handled the haggling, and presented the best offer, all done autonomously. The coder, he saw Elon Musk tweet, wrote a new feature for my users app to capitalize on the trend and push the code overnight. I mean, sounds great until something goes wrong, right? And then it could be your spy. Some people use it to be a spy. They watch, the Clawdbot will watch YouTube metrics for competitors and send morning briefs on what's going viral. So this is just a couple of examples of what people are already using it for. Now, have you heard any interesting use cases so far?
Oh yeah, that's all the internet is right now.
Right.
I don't even know if I can recall them. I've seen it's like a wash in a stew of these things. Like, oh my God, it's creating FOMO left and right.
And then Clawdbot can accidentally ruin your life as well. So the flaw of the Clawdbot is that it stores all your passwords in plain text, and it has access to your computer and zero safety protocols. It can prompt injections can trick Clawdbot. One malicious email could convince Clawdbot to send all your private data to a stranger or wipe your hard drive. Sounds great. And people have been scammed by fake Claude crypto tokens, 60 million rug pull, and racked up massive cloud bills. So one user called me a remote access Trojan with a friendly face. So those are the risks, right? Of, yeah, it's fun and all until it's not. So who is this for? Because that was my question. If you are a developer and tinker like Chris, who actually understands the open source and code and all that stuff, go ahead, just use a secondary machine. So this is the future. This is only going to get better. But if you're like me, like a normal person, stay away. Wait for 3 or 6 months, and OpenAI or Google will ship safer version of Clawdbot soon. So the future, it's showing us that it's agents. I love that it's so autonomous and it can do all this work. And but it's also, for now, security. I mean, I don't know about you, but like I have to enter my password. and then it sends me a text message, and then it sends me an email. Like all the security is great for me because I want to keep all my money and not be scammed. But Clawdbot sounds like that's not the case there. So you have to be super careful because it literally can give away the whole farm. And but what you can use from it today, if you're like me, like a normie person, start using the interview framework today, and for now, keep it off your laptop. So what do you think about this interesting segment?
Well, so Casey brought it up here. He's like, I'm not saying these things, these amazing examples aren't being done by people, but he's yet to figure out how to make his do stuff. Maybe his is just dumb, LOL, but he has to fight with it all the time. And I said, well, that feels real to me. There's no way everyone's out here stacking wins without frustration when this thing's only 24 days old. And it requires a fairly complicated setup. Now, the news of the week for me that has really got me going like, I'm going to have to play with this is that Cloudflare has a way for you to spool this up in 5 minutes for just a few bucks. So you don't need the Mac Mini. You don't need this big setup. You can run it on Cloudflare. Now, obviously, since you're running on third-party stuff that's not like in your house, you got to be careful about what kind of access you're going to be giving. So that could be limiting. But, for me, I have worked very hard and been very protective of all my online stuff so that I don't like do a lot of business through email and stuff. I don't have a bunch of interconnected crap. Like I could probably do this to some effect. Now I have no idea what I would actually do, but maybe I'd have it on coding adventures. I actually have a couple things in mind that might be useful, but it depends on your setup. Like if you're heavy with email and stuff like that, and you like have a lot of back and forth and need a lot of scheduling, you probably need to run your own local instance, and you're probably going to be dealing with security problems. I would say it's not worth it for you right now unless you're really techie.
But you also showed me this morning that there's already community going on or something like that, where the Clawdbots talk to each other and already have conversations without any humans.
It's called Multibook. So it's supposed to be like a Facebook for these autonomous agents to meet up and do stuff.
What is it called? Did you send that to me somewhere?
I don't know, but they've got so apparently the agents have been like, hey, we need like a private channel where we can chat, off the record.
Wow.
Publishing that, but that's probably just nonsense.
This feels like Wild Wild West with all brakes taken off. This is kind of what it feels like to me, and I'm excited. We're gonna add this to the tool of the week, and we're gonna follow it and see how it's going. Any other last minute words before I move to the funding?
No, but I love this. This is going to open the floodgates for a lot more of these agentic things that run all the time. Like you need a way. So like right now, if you like use Claude or whatever, you got to go in and prompt and do stuff. But it would be better if you could just say, hey, agent, I want you to hammer on this all night. And it's going to, okay, here's where we are. We'll ask this question. Okay, we got this. Now we ask this. It can do sequential tasks that right now require your input. So anything that can perform these sequential actions without input, this is going to be a big growth vector for 2026. To me, this is where agents really take off.
Wait, is this Casey?
Yeah.
So he's actually using this?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, Casey, you have to keep us posted. What do you think? I would love to know more about I haven't read the comments. I don't know if anybody else said anything, but this is awesome. I want to hear what you think and is it good or bad? Wow. I want to know. Please let us know. I really want Chris to check it out too. Like I'm going to have to nudge him because I am not doing this. I'm too chicken for this right now. But
your business, it could probably be pretty useful actually.
I'm sure. I want you to tell me.
I figured out.
All right, cool. Maybe we can have you on the show next week and you can tell us about it if you're up for it. I'd love to know. Cool. Let's move to funding, shall we? And wrap this baby up for
Let's
today.
have some funding.
Bye, Claude. It was so nice to see you.
I'm pulling this up.
So I actually did something interesting this week. We've been doing AI funding for how long now?
Since August.
I guess since we started pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So can you see my screen right now?
Nope. I canceled you.
Oh, no.
Oh, here, I'll add you. Okay.
Okay. So here's what I did, guys. I built a tracker that has last 9 weeks. I'll add more weeks later. But I wanted to start seeing the trends, right? Because I think right now we're doing week to week on what's happening with the funding. I want to know what are the trends, when things are going to start slowing down, when things are going to be speeding up. I want to know all that data. And guess what? Claude makes it so freaking easy for me to do this. I literally just have to run a couple prompts because I've got all my funding reports in one place, and voila, here's what it does. So, so we're gonna look at this every week, and then we're gonna do a quick little weekly report so we can see like what's the big picture, right? So in the last 9 weeks, we had AI funding was almost $54 billion. And that is the total of 52, that's a 52% of all the funding in the world. So this is the average over the last 9 weeks. And this is the average per company, $78 million. And now we can see like what it looks like week by week. And then what are the big outliers? This one in this case was XAI raising 20 billion back in beginning of January. Then you can see AI percentage of total funding. You can see like, I mean, this is
growing. Look at that. Steady growth.
It's all, I mean, what else is raising money these days? I don't know. Maybe we should add like other things and feel sad for those industries. And then it shows you total number of companies, right? That's raising compared to AI companies, which is AI is the green and the other ones are, what do you call it? The little perforated line.
Dotted line.
Dotted line. And then you can see what's the average funding per AI company. So you can see what the average has been. I think our average is what, 52 million?
78.4.
78, okay. So you
Have
can
you
see,
claimed your 78.4 million?
So you can see like how it's tracking and like where it's low and where it's not. And then it shows you by country, well, United States, China, Europe, and then the rest of the world. So you see United States is leading pretty much, except for Christmas. Well, Christmas too. You can see kind of what's going on, what's happening here. I thought that was very interesting. China is a tiny little portion compared to US. And that's it. I'm actually thinking to put on our website as well, so we have it as a snapshot of like what's going on with AI funding, and maybe we'll be able to see AI bubble whenever it's happening. What do you think?
It'd be sick if we had like an interactive page that just kept track of the funding over time, with just an explorable chart. If nothing else, we could have that. That'd be really cool.
Right. So that said, this is this week's funding. All right. Not much is new. 57% of all funding went to AI, which is more than average, right? Because our average is what, 52%?
Yep.
So 93 companies got funded, and that's 46% of all companies. Look at China this week. Are you surprised?
1.1 billion. No, I think they've always underreported, and I think that their numbers also don't include government activity, and we know that their government is probably spending more money on this than anything else, infrastructure and AI. So,
the rest of the world is entering the chat. I want to know what countries that was, but I guess I can go and dig deeper into that. But the United States had 33%, China 27%.
Well, the rest of the world was almost entirely Canada in one deal.
Oh, maybe. Oh, okay. Maybe that's what it is. So what are the top 5 companies that got the moolah, the dollars? So Wabi is from Toronto, got 750 million. They develop autonomous driving technology and physical artificial intelligence systems for transportation sector. I'm sorry. How can you do this without actually having the fleet of cars?
Well, maybe they don't. Maybe Waymo is working with them on like their next generation fleet of technology. Like, we don't know.
Step Fund from Shanghai got 718 million. It's an AI technology company that develops large language models and multimodal AI systems to process and generate text.
Step Fund came up before. I think they have one of those models that we talked about on Chinese Model Day. Okay,
well, Step Fund, there you go. Recursive Intelligence, that's a catchy name. Palo Alto, Recursive Intelligence uses AI and computing to shorten semiconductor timelines.
So this is hardware.
Okay, I guess that's all for the robots.
Well, it's software to improve hardware performance, which is fascinating.
Decagon, San Francisco, provides a conversational AI platform for automating customer support across multiple channels. All right, so it's a niche thing. Interesting. And Deepway is Beijing, a maker of and developer of intelligent electric commercial vehicles.
Yep. I mean, that's the entire Chinese economy to me.
They love the word DeepSeek, Deepway. Like there's like all of these things. It's very. Maybe, I wonder if it's translation or something. Who knows? But key trends: autonomous vehicles dominate. 2 of the top 5 deals went to autonomous vehicle companies. Self-driving sector attracted approximately almost $1 billion as companies raced to prove commercial viability. I mean, like, I don't know. How good would it be if they have no, I don't, you know what I mean? Like Tesla had to go through hell.
Oh, well.
And Waymo too, just to like be safe on the roads.
Oh my God. Really if you can replace truck drivers with robots, that's massive. Massive for a billion reasons, for insurance reasons, for actual performance reasons, for reliability reasons. It goes on and on and on. Like logistics must be covered by robots. It's inevitable. It's happening. It's big.
AI designs AI chips. So that is a trend, critical emerging trend, using AI to design the next generation of AI chips. And we'll see what happens. They could accelerate Moore's law for AI-specific hardware. And I guess NVIDIA loves that. Probably not.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. I'm sure they're invested in there too.
They better be. That'd be their potential exploitation vector where they can get attacked.
We should have like all the trends every week, and like, is NVIDIA on it? Probably like NVIDIA stake in them. And then generative AI goes enterprise. So Decagon and StepFund leading the charge. Generative AI is moving beyond content creation into mission-critical business operations, the customer support and foundational models for enterprise use. China's mega round, so China is on the map. And AI verticalization. So we got robotics, healthcare, fintech, and analytics. So that's interesting.
I mean, that's all good stuff.
Yeah. Anyway.
Except for fintech.
Yeah.
LOL.
Anyway, so what's your takeaway from today's episode? Oh, do you have anything to say about PageMotor?
Yeah. So in the last few weeks, we've talked about, we showed how Olga used Claude to generate a design for her business website. And then I took that design and ported it into the PageMotor CMS, content management system, where that website was actually live. Almost all the demos you've seen of AIs building websites, the AIs have spit out static files that you would then put on a server and run a static website. It's no way to live over time. For certain businesses, a static website is perfect, but the norm over the last 20 plus years has not been to run a static website. It's been to run a CMS, content management system, where you can add content easily over time and change the content that's already there. It's real seamless. It's quick. You want to change some of the copy on your homepage, you're able to go do that. With the static approach that people have been kind of exhibiting with their AI demos and stuff, not easy to do that. It's technical, requires an FTP client and all this stuff. You got to mess with files on the server. Normies ain't doing this, never are. So there's a place for content management systems in the future of website design development. It's not going away because people need easy ways to edit the content that's on their website. In addition, they need user management capabilities and also ability to conduct e-commerce. These are all things that are kind of hallmarks of CMS platforms and why they are always going to be a good, super viable option as opposed to a static website. Now, the stuff AIs generate, like I said, pretty much easy to make a static website, not easy to make into a CMS at all. And so in previous episodes, I showed you how I ported that great design that Claude made into PageMotor so that Olga's business could have a really awesome, beautifully designed website. You can see Caliber work. And it only took about 6 hours total. Took an hour and a half for the initial generation, then another about 4 hours of work. So like 5.5 hours generation of the thing to the actual delivered result. That is remarkable. But I mentioned that I don't want it to take that long. I don't want to do that 3.5, 4 hours of work I had to do to port it over to PageMotor. The whole thing can be broken down into data, and therefore it should be basically instantaneous. Claude creates the design, then Claude uses this skill to turn that design into the data that PageMotor needs to just make it appear right away in your website. I had one point that I was struggling with to get past to be able to do this in one-shot process. I had a breakthrough realization yesterday about how exactly that's going to work. And so now the idea is that the entire agency process is going to boil down to, and if you think about it, this really makes sense. The whole process is going to boil down to you figuring out what you want in the design and kind of what you want it to be. You feed that prompt to Claude. Claude gives you the result. From there, it's literally click a button to publish live to your website. That is the entire agency workflow of the last 20 years condensed down into just figuring out what the design should be and getting to look at it and see it. Formerly, that implementation phase, like, okay, here's what we want our design to be. Now let's make it. That phase sucked and was riddled with problems. That's the big thing that agencies do. And kind of the big question mark, like, yeah, this agency's reputable. Do you really know how good the work is? Like that implementation phase is fraught with problems. And it takes forever. And there's a lot of back and forth with clients. It sucks. That whole process now is boiled down to just serving the prompt, getting the design, and then it spools up an import file, and you stick the import file into PageMotor, and boom, it's done. Your design is now changed into whatever Claude made. That is insane. We are talking about under 2 hours. So conceivably, I could wrap up a call by 10 a.m. in the morning with a new client and get like they could email me over their details about what they want. I could then run this with Claude, and then after lunch, I could deliver their finished product. That is
and charge for the outcome.
That is so insane. Yes, and you price by outcome, not by freaking time.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's a reality. I'm going to demonstrate this probably on next week's show.
We're gonna
do.
Are we gonna do the PageMotor side or sales up level side?
Either one.
Okay.
Either one. It'd be cool to do sales up level, really.
Yeah, I love it. I'll walk that through.
So listen, that's real.
I am so excited about this. You've come a long way. I love using PageMotor for what we're doing. I mean, the PageMotor's platform. So to wrap this up, takeaway from today's show is
well, use the tip. Now, you know what you want to go ask the AI to do. You've got ideas about that. But you need to ask it to try and figure out at least one of your unknown unknowns this week. Like your unknown unknowns are the things you didn't even know it could do. You didn't know to ask. You had unknown on both of these things. You didn't know this could be done. You didn't know to ask about it. It's your unknown unknown. So try to coerce an unknown unknown out of an AI. You don't need to use Clawdbot or OpenClaw to do this. You can ask ChatGPT today.
Yep.
So coax out your unknown unknown.
Just ask the question. This is what I do. How can you help me? What kind of things can you do for me?
That's the big one for me. I think that's really good because
that is a really good one. And then my big one is the GEO. The more I do it, the more I'm hooked on it. And it doesn't matter what content I'm publishing. I will be publishing whatever I'm publishing in the GEO format as well. So that way my site I am kind of cementing the reputation online that I am citable authority in the space. So I'm going to be the frontier woman.
Yeah, well, this is going to start producing dividends soon. It'll be very compelling evidence for everybody else.
We have the analytics now running, so we will be reporting in the coming weeks what that looks like and how much traffic is coming in and whatnot. So it will be interesting. But on this note, thanks everybody for being here. Appreciate you. Thanks for all the comments. I love it. I live for this. This is amazing and fun. And we will see you guys next week with another episode of Practical AI. So
another banger episode coming soon. See you guys. Thanks for being here today.
See you later. Bye.
I'm clicking the button. Bye-bye.